Black Sabbath is not only one of my favorite bands, one of my favorite things in life. I am more partial to the classic original lineup with Ozzy Osbourne fronting the band than I am to the Ronnie James Dio fronted period of the band. However, there's some stuff from that period that I really love, and that was my actual introduction to the band because the version of the song Mob Rules was in the animated film Heavy Metal. And the soundtrack to Heavy Metal is one of my favorite albums of all time. So I have a real soft spot for Mob Rules, the song, and for the album, because that's the first tape I went out and got in the cover for me at the time. That cover of those hooded, faceless figures I found it really evil looking. Of course, couldn't resist getting it, right? So I actually love that record. There are moments on that album that are really, 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 really powerful. But I have mixed feelings about that period. The era that Dio came in, which was right as Ozzy was leaving. I mean, the last album they did with Ozzy was 1978's Never Say Die, which is one of my favorites. It has like a dizzying range of styles that they cover. They go into like jazz fusion. There's what I would describe, it's not even a piano ballad. It's, I don't even know what to call it. It's sort of new agey almost. Not quite. It's a piano featuring tune that's like one of my favorite songs by them that just really, I get carried away listening to it. So initially, Tony Iommi, Sabbath's guitarist and sort of anchor, Tony Iommi approached Ronnie James Dio, who had just left Rainbow. Maybe it had been like a year or something that he left Rainbow. Actually, that's not right. But he had recently left Rainbow. He approached Ronnie initially to do a solo project outside of Sabbath because they were going to try to do the follow-up to Never Say Die with Ozzy. He started working with Ronnie, then he brought Ronnie in with the rest of the band eventually, and it just clicked and they decided to go, oh no, this is the new Sabbath. This is clicking too well. Things had gotten really, really difficult with Ozzy at that point. You know, there's that famous / infamous last run that they did with Van Halen opening for them, which, I mean, is sort of like a change, symbolic changing of the guard with Van Halen just completely like a gigantic, it's like a nuclear detonation going off, in the face of music, and Sabbath being this other older thing. So a couple things happened when they brought Ronnie in. They started to sound more contemporary. They got heavier. They were more in line with early 80s, what was becoming metal, that style, 80s style metal. It's heavier, it's thicker, it's denser. But I felt, and this is not through any fault of Ronnie's, even though they were saying, oh, wow, we got this guy that we could do anything with. We felt we could do anything. He's got so much range. He's actually technically, he's a trained musician because he started on trumpet at age 5, which is important to know. In spite of all that, I feel that they regressed and got more limited than they ever had been. The sound on these two records is kind of, it's not exactly uniform, but it's in mostly one lane, which to me feels like a step backwards. And I've always, I was going to say, I've always been partial to the Ozzy era. That to me is sort of the real quote unquote Sabbath. This to me felt like kind of a detour and a blip, and it was too short-lived for them to really have a comparable body of work. We're talking about 2 albums really in this time frame versus 8. You can't really, that doesn't really balance out for me.